How is employer branding similar and different from traditional marketing? What is the ROI of a dedicated employer brand strategy? Get the inside scoop from Heartland's Senior Director of Employee Experience and Employer Branding, Matt Palmer.
Hey there, I'm Krista Vance, entrepreneur and operations leader.
And I'm Matt Vance, award-winning author and social innovation researcher. We're your hosts of the Culture Profit Podcast.
Your place for purposeful company culture strategy.
Learn from HR pros, executives, and thought leaders how to prioritize profits by prioritizing people.
This episode is sponsored by Mobrium, the best friend of forward-thinking HR leaders, helping you strengthen your employer reputation as a reflection of your real culture.
Learn more at mobrium.com. Welcome everyone. Today we're visiting with an Oklahoma native who is leading people first strategies at a nearly 5,000 team fintech company.
Matt Palmer is the Senior Director of Employee Experience and Employer Branding at Heartland, where he leads key people strategies post-hire. This includes everything from onboarding, culture development, leadership training, employee engagement, and more. So Matt, thanks for being with us today, and we'd love to hear more about what Heartland does.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to chatting with you guys for a long time, and I love your podcasts, right? So I'm super honored to be here and really looking forward to our conversation. Just a little bit more about Heartland. In addition to being a company that is about 5,000 people spread out all over the United States, we have large offices, we have smaller offices, and then of course we have a lot of remote team members too, right? Which work from their homes or their home offices or their living rooms or their kitchen tables, whatever that looks like, or maybe even sometimes on a nice day from their patio, which I'm a little bit jealous about.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
What we do, you guys, what all of our 5,000 people are doing are focused on making everyday work better for our customers. And the way that we do that is through our technology or through our software, right? And that means we provide financial technology or software in three key areas of business today. The first one is payments, right? So we have products that help people manage payments, conduct payments, process payments. That could be in a store, at a counter, or it could be online, right? So think of all the sort of in-app purchases that you're making specifically. We help empower people to do that, or businesses to do that too. The next thing that we do is point of sale. So think about the specific counter experience, right? So cashiers and kiosks and scanners and printers and monitors. We do point of sale for two really large segments, including some other ones, but I'll mention two: retail businesses, and then of course restaurants is a big part of what we do, and lots of other businesses in that category as well. And then the third part of our product offering to our customers is our payroll product, right? So we actually call it Payroll Plus, which means we actually do more than just payroll, processing payroll, though we have about 50,000 clients that we're processing payroll for on a weekly basis. But we actually also provide what we call human capital management products. So products that help them with HR support, products that help with time and attendance, products that help track candidate flow. Think of it like an applicant tracking system, right? These types of things. So that's what Heartland's doing. That's what 5,000 of us are doing. We're doing various things that are important to the customer journey to help make everyday work better with payments, point of sale, and payroll, right? And it's a ton of fun, and it's certainly a high growth company with a lot of very passionate people, and I love it. I love working here, and I love what we're doing. So that's a little bit about what we're doing.
I love that. And one thing I'd mention is, what you're offering to clients in part, the payroll plus portion, you're helping HR leaders deliver a better employee experience. And that's what you're doing at the company. So it's a little bit of doubling up here. But I think that's incredible what you guys are doing.
That's very cool. Very cool.
So tell us a little bit more about the non-corporate Matt. What do you like to do?
Oh my gosh, thank you for asking me that. I love that. So a little bit about me, which I'm really proud of. My wife and I actually just celebrated 22 years of marriage this last December, which I feel really proud of. I can't believe she's decided to be with me that long, which really speaks to how great of a person she is. No, I'm kidding a little bit. Not kidding, right? Kind of thing. I'm really proud of that. We have two children that are both teenagers. I have a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old. So in the year 2024, my son will turn 16, my daughter will turn 18, and we're starting to like really think about this sort of empty nest thing, right? That people talk
Yeah.
about. What's it going to be like for children to not be at home? I think when they're both driving, we'll really feel that a ton. So,
Yeah.
and that actually takes me to my next thing about me, which we share this passion actually, is because my wife and I found ourselves with a little bit more free time, and we needed to exercise, and we're both competitive. We decided to start playing pickleball, right? Like a lot of people are doing, and it's sort of the thing we get to do together, and get good at together, and get to know other people doing that thing, and so we like to play. I think the other thing about me is we're competitive. We like to compete. We like to, sort of link exercise with competition. So that's a little bit about my marriage, my children, and kind of what I'm doing outside of work. Those are some things. I don't know. That
That's
sounds
so
not
cool.
that
Yeah.
interesting, but yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, you're right. We love pickleball too, and if you're ever out here, we ought to play, but
We definitely should play for sure. Yes.
You mentioned that you do some local tournaments, and I think that's just as official as it can be. So, I mean, I know
Yeah.
it's not one of those that like ranks you or something, but
Yeah. Yeah, Chris, I love that you brought that up. Actually, it feels very official to me. Like I take it very seriously and competitively. So it's a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun to be a part of. It's a great sport.
yeah, that's
And
awesome.
it's interesting, on just a little side note here, on Netflix, there's the series Breaking Points, highlighting so much about,
Breakpoint.
or yeah, Breakpoint, highlighting, the current tennis scene. Krista's a big tennis player. I've tried to fake it a little bit. I know, Matt, earlier you'd said that you have a strong tennis background, and it's definitely interesting to see this cultural dynamic play out between tennis and pickleball, which is kind of fun and maybe
Yes.
tense at times, right?
Yes.
Pickleball is
Maybe it's
great.
this sort of love-hate thing. Yes.
Yeah. Pickleball is great when, he doesn't have the tennis background, and so, like,
Yeah.
pickleball is a little bit easier to include
Yeah.
whatever
Yep.
skill level and stuff, so
Yeah, I love that you're bringing it up. In fact, that's one of the things that I love about it is you can play pickleball competitively lots of different ways. Lots of different ways. It can be fast paced, it can be hard hitting, but also it can be really slow and methodical and sort of intentional. And that's an amazing way to play the game, right? Which
yeah,
is a
Yeah.
lot of
yeah.
fun. And when lots of people can play at lots of different levels, the other thing I love about sport is it creates community, right? Where you get to know people and you get to meet people, and they play a little different way, but it's them and it's how they play. And I think that's a really cool thing. I think it's a cool thing about pickleball for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of community, so you're over employer branding. Tell us about what that is and what it is not.
Yeah, I love this. I think one of the things that we recognize as an organization is just as important as it is to market to our potential customers, right? We use a lot of different marketing strategies, but for the conversation today, we'll think about sort of digital marketing strategies that we're utilizing. So as important as it is to sort of attract and increase awareness for our potential customers in our business, we wanted to have the same emphasis for potential candidates and advocates and people that would want to join our business. And so what
Mhm.
my specific role is when I'm doing employer branding work is thinking, how can we utilize what is largely digital marketing strategies to help increase the interest of inside people that might say, hey, I think I'd like to be a part of the team at Heartland, right? And that involves a lot of different things. But at its core, that's what we're doing when we think about employer branding. It's also increasing the awareness of who we are as an employer, right? So what do we want people to know is true about our employer brand, just as we would with a brand promise specifically for our customers. We want to have the same things. We want to have those things in place with our employer brand strategy, so that when people say, I work for Heartland, right, or I know people work at Heartland, there's a certain attribute that comes with that, right? It comes with, there's an understanding of what it means to be a part of our team and the work that we're doing. So my job is to increase awareness of those attributes, right? and then eventually target the right people at the right time to see if we can get them interested in joining our company. And if they don't want to join our company, they're an advocate for us, right? They tell others that might want to join our company at some point. Is that helpful? So that's certainly a very high level understanding of the way I think about employer branding at work, and we can dive deeper for sure.
Oh, I really like that, Matt. And I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, and it shows that you were leading marketing efforts before this. So
Yep.
maybe tell us kind of your opinion of like, where does the line draw between the customer marketing and employer marketing, or do you feel it's kind of fluid and there's some spillover? I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on that. Did they work in tandem? Are they independent? Is it one operation with kind of subsets?
Yeah, I love that question, Matt. That's a really thoughtful question. The way we think about this is I'll say this: same book, different chapters, if you will. Right.
Okay.
So one of the things that we talk a lot about, and I think sometimes people that are doing employer branding, I think can get a little distracted from this particular area. Is I tell our marketing teammates who are exceptional, actually, they're pros, like they're amazing. They're doing incredible things, that the brand is the brand. Does it make sense?
Yep.
So I think the first thing for a person that's going to focus on employer branding is to not take on this pressure to restate, redo, re-envision, re-describe the brand. The brand's the brand, and the brand is determined by our marketing teammates. Is everybody with me on that?
Yep.
And so that matters. So the first thing is, how is our marketing team creating the brand? What's the story? What's the narrative? What's important about the brand? Why does it matter to the particular customer? Because what we're going to try to do is find people to participate in that story or that narrative. So step number one, I think if people are going to do employer branding, is do not create this difference or this void between employer branding work and marketing work. It is one story, one book, different chapters. Okay, so an example of that. If I'm gonna take people, if I'm gonna say, hey, I would like to increase our candidate flow for our technology teams that are developing point of sale software. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
One way to do that is to say, I'm hiring. Point of sale. We put that on social channels. We put that in email. We put that on our website, right? We would do what we call sort of traditional advertising or traditional messaging around employment strategy. I'm hiring, come join my team, those types of things. We actually try to stay away from those types of messages, with the exception of a few times a year, some very specific roles. Rather, if I'm helping build a technology team for our point of sale business, I take the amazing stories that our marketing team is telling about the work we're doing in point of sale for our customers. I share those stories and say, hey, want to be a part of this vision? Want to be a part of this work? Want to be a part of solving customer problems like these other teams are doing, specifically in point of sale? And try to get people to be connected to what we're doing as a brand and how we're adding value to our customers, and invite people into that story a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, to me that feels like sampling. You think of like Costco or Sam's Club. One of the most effective forms of sampling is, hey, here, taste this, off the shelf food item.
Yep.
Now it's in your mouth, and now you're like, oh, I like that. Now I'm buying it.
Yeah.
And I would compare that to what you just described, like the traditional, hey, we're hiring. That's just having a product sitting on a shelf. Here's the price. Here's the product. It's transactional communication, but that sampling experience is more, it's an experiential thing where you're getting more a sensory moment happening. And when you're telling that story, you're especially allowing employees to be a part of that storytelling. You're talking about the problems, the solutions, the vision. That's a digital, sampling of sorts, where now that potential candidate is experiencing a little taste of what it could be like to work at Heartland. And now they're salivating, right? They're like, okay, now I want to apply it. And it's a completely different lead in to that application.
Yeah. And they have a sense of what they're joining. right? So I think, I want to come back to the partnership with marketing thing because it's really important to say a few more things. But to your point, the example you're giving is now I get to taste this thing, right? That I'm about to buy. And I know I know that I like it, or I might know that my family likes it if I'm going to buy.
Mhm.
I think one of the things we're trying to do with employer brand strategy is be honest about what it means to work here and the work that we're doing, because we want you to come and be passionate about doing the work that we're doing. Right. So if I remain sort of ambiguous about the job and about the culture and about the story and how we're taking care of customers and those types of things, then people don't actually have a sense of like what they're actually joining. Right. They
Mhm.
don't know. And we want there to be some context there, because we want you to come inside of our organization and be your best self and be passionate about the things that we're passionate about. And how do you do that if you don't know what we're doing for people? Right? How do you do that? The other thing that I think is really important about your marketing question, which is really smart, is I think teams should have, at least this is working for us at this point. I think organizations should have expert focus on things like marketing and on things like employer branding, just to ensure that those particular disciplines don't get lost somewhere in the organization. So I partner with our marketing people because they're pros. They're amazing. They're incredible. They are very smart. They are very creative. They are very connected to technology. They're awesome. And I benefit from their expertise a lot with those particular things, but they know, and I know I'm focused specifically on attracting the right candidate and building an advocacy team with the tools that we have, where they're focused on, we need more customers for all of our products. Does it make sense?
Yep.
So I think it is helpful to have people focus on specific things, right? But that build really strong partnerships. And it's not sort of the employer brand team competing against the marketing team. It's the same book, different chapters, right? And that marketing team is going to create the brand. My job is to share that brand with other people and invite people into the story.
We live in a world of specialization, and it sounds like your marketers
Yeah,
are amazing and you're great at what you do. And that combination can produce really amazing results, I think.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, another thought I had with what you were saying previously is that draw for people to have meaning for their work. And so what you
Mm,
were saying about sharing the vision of what your team is doing and what they're accomplishing, that's what people want. I mean, they're there for money, right? That employer
yeah,
value proposition, but they're also there to make a difference and to find meaning in what they're doing.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
love that.
yeah, absolutely.
So, diving a little bit more, let's say a company doesn't have a dedicated employer brand
Mm,
strategy. So, why should they invest in that and having an employer brand and reputation strategy?
yeah. Yeah, gosh, that's a big question, Krista, for sure. And certainly I'm biased because I do this work specifically. But I
Yeah.
think I think one of the things that organizations have to start embracing, is the value that their team brings and the team that they're building. And they have to start recognizing the fact that we actually really need the right people in the right seat, go in the right direction. And remember all those things that we've learned, right? And getting the right people in the right seat, go in the right direction, starts with a really amazing candidate journey specifically. Right? Does it make sense? And so a lot of people that come to me and they say, hey, how's employer branding affecting the business? Well, what we've done is we're crafting messages and stories in a candidate journey that's uniquely designed to get the right people in the right seat, go in the right direction. Right.
Mhm.
And so when I go to the organization, I say, hey, I'm actually contributing to your passion to build the right team, doing the right work, go in the right direction, rather than we're going to take a bunch of people from a lot of different places and backgrounds and experiences level. We're going to put them in a job and we're going to hope our interview process worked enough to get the right person. Does it make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah.
Employer branding says we're actually going to be far more strategic on the front end of that journey and do our part to partner with hiring managers to build the right team to then accelerate the business, right? So I think that's a good example. I think that's a good example of why companies should be thoughtful about what employer brand, because it actually can impact the way teams are built, and then eventually the work that team actually does to accelerate the business or strengthen the culture or sell more products, right? That kind of a thing. Does it make sense? So I think that's a key thing that people should care about that journey and the work we're
I've
doing.
definitely seen firsthand what can happen when you hire the wrong person. Maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
a person who ends up being toxic and causes other people to leave. Maybe it's a
Mm-hmm.
person who really just isn't a good fit for the company and the company's not a good fit for them. And so
Yeah.
they leave, and all that money put into training them, hiring them, getting them, ingrained in the company is kind of down the drain, right? And
Yeah.
so and
Yeah.
I have heard that strategy of interviewing and making your interview process really good, that you can weed out those people that maybe aren't a good fit for your company. But
Mm-hmm.
that seems so much more effective to start that before you even get applications, to get the
Yep.
right kind of application. And then you're not weeding out a bunch that
Yeah.
really are not a good fit.
Yeah. Are you attracting the right people from the beginning? We see about, and this fluctuates a little bit depending upon time of year because I think it's actually a little bit seasonal, but we see about 1,200 to 1,500 applications a week for the positions that we have open
Wow.
inside of our
Holy
company.
cow.
Right. So it's a lot. It's a lot of people. And there's actually some more than that. But we think about those people as like people that are actually going to be in the funnel, right? 12 to 1,500 applications. So that's a lot of people for our talent acquisition team to think about, well, how are we going to talk to all these people? So we've got to use a strategy that starts to target who those people are and get the right people to apply to enter the funnel, because we automatically know we have some work to do to find them, right? Even though they're in our system, and we have tools in place to help do that, right? But that's the thing. If an organization can say our employer branding strategy is contributing to our retention expenses, right, and what that looks like,
Mhm. Yep.
then people start to say, hey, maybe that's actually a thing, and let's put a little bit more investment on the front end of this journey rather than dealing with it later, right? Does it make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, and
So it's
there's a
a
lot of repercussions that happen from
yep.
not having this in, like, Krista talking about the toxic employee or the
Yep.
misaligned situation, right? You don't have the right person in the right seat on the bus. Like
Yep.
as you were talking about this, and Krista was mentioning that example, my mind went to sports and how, like, for a college team or NBA or NFL, they have scouts that go out essentially on the hunt for that right player to fill the right role in the right
Hmm.
team. Like they're hunting, it's a hunting
Hmm.
strategy for the right person in the right bus on the right team.
Hmm.
But most corporate organizations can't have that type of an investment for every single role you're trying to fill. And so
Yep.
in my mind, employer branding is, instead of hunting, it's like almost like casting a net. It's a more at scale fishing, I guess you could say, or becoming a magnet, where instead of going out for that target person that's going to be the perfect team player, you're saying, hey, here's what we are, come to us. And then you're attracting the
Yeah.
right type of people. And then
Yep.
you have a system in place to help your internal team decide, okay, here's a whole bunch of people that are
Yep.
they're raising their hand saying, I feel aligned with this company. I'm excited about the vision. I'm excited about the the problems you're solving. But then it's
Yep.
your job to help kind of make sure they're getting in the right seats as they're saying that they're interested. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of a two-way thing. It's helping the candidates find alignment for themselves, and then it's
Yes.
you
Yeah.
helping ensure that the business agrees with that alignment and that they're coming in to the right part of the
Yeah.
business.
They're coming into the right. I love, Matt, that you said helping the candidates identify for themselves. So that's an important thing that I think is important. We talk about this. I'll give an example the way I'm going to unpack this for a minute. We are a fast-paced culture, like really fast. We do a lot in a quarter. We do a lot in the month. We pivot a lot. We change. I like to think about our culture as very dynamic, right? Does it make sense? So there is change. There's movement. Um, that is one way of doing business. For us, it's important that we have a dynamic culture because of our industry and the way we're taking products to market and what that means for our customers. Does it make sense? But that doesn't mean that sort of this dynamic, fast moving thing is important to every business or is important to every person. Does it make sense? So if
Mhm.
we have a candidate experience that's appropriately sharing the story of what it is actually like to do the work in our culture, achieving the things we're trying to say, and we're honest about things about our culture. Does it make sense? Like, for example, we move fast. Then that allows us to have a more honest conversation with the candidate to really identify, hey, are you going to actually be cool with our fast moving culture? And let's
Mhm.
chat about that. Let's chat about what that actually means and how you feel about that. Because at the end of the day, not only are we trying to find candidates that fit the company, right, to help accelerate our business, but it matters to the candidate too, because we want them to be fulfilled. We want them to thrive. We want them to wake up and enjoy and want to do the work we're doing. And that doesn't mean it's great every day, but I'm looking for people that know what they're joining, because I don't want them to dread Mondays. Right? Does it make sense? I don't want that. Life's too short. So that's the thing we're trying to do with employer branding strategy, is telling the stories and creating amazing candidate experience that help empower the candidate to go, you know what? This company's values are actually very similar to my values and I'm in for that. Or they go, hey, thank you so much. I actually don't think this is the fit for me. And when that happens, I'm like, okay, all right, that's amazing. And then maybe we can help them get connected somewhere else in our network. But then we do the same for the company, right? Our company knows, because we're telling the right story, we're talking about our culture, it is more likely than not, when somebody enters our candidate journey, that they have a proper understanding. They have a authentic understanding of what it means to join our company, because there is some unique things about us that
Mhm.
matters to being successful. Anyways, I think I'm rambling now, but I'm loving the conversation.
No, not at all. Yeah, so with Heartland, you mentioned that a fast-paced culture is kind of
Hmm.
the thing. And does that influence your branding strategy? And what other kind of things do employees say about Heartland that influence what you do in your marketing?
Yeah, wow, that's a big question. That's a big point. I would love to have our marketing people on to help answer that. But I think one of the things that, Krista, when you asked the question, my mind immediately went to is, as it relates to brand and what we're doing for our customers and kind of who we are, is there's actually a lot of very similar qualities of our customers and our team members, right? So we spend a lot of time understanding our customer. We understand that they're entrepreneurs, and what does it mean to be an entrepreneur? What does it mean to be an entrepreneur of a startup and a mid-sized business or a small business, or even all the way, what does it mean to be entrepreneurial in a sort of enterprise business, right? Because people are doing that work too. So one of the things we celebrate a lot here from a brand perspective is entrepreneurs, right? And what they mean to our communities, what they mean to our cities, what they mean to our schools, certainly what they mean to business and their particular sort of local economy or the work they're doing. But anyways, it's important, right? You guys are entrepreneurs. It's important. And so we celebrate entrepreneurship and what that means. That is a major part of our brand externally, right, with our marketing strategies,
Mhm.
but also it's a major part internally and then eventually externally to our employer brand strategy. Does it make sense? Because I
Yep.
want to I want to attract people that not only care about entrepreneurs, that want to support entrepreneurs, that want to partner with entrepreneurs, that want to help entrepreneurs run and grow their business, but I also value that entrepreneurial spirit, and it's an important part of how we work here. Does that make sense? So that's a link. If I can find people that have some like startup experience or some entrepreneurial experience, I'm like, oh, fantastic. You know what I'm saying? Like what it's like to be a part of this. So I think that's how I thought about your question, is a similar message from our brand from a marketing perspective, is we're here to help entrepreneurs in lots of different ways. But also we're here to attract entrepreneurially minded people to take care of entrepreneurs once they get
Mhm.
inside the business. And there's a really clear link, which is a lot of fun.
And the more that you can identify what is unique about your company and the people that already work there and what's working well, the more you can make sure that that employer branding strategy reflects what's actually happening on the inside.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right, Kristen. I love that you brought that up. Is we actually to have an employer branding strategy, we actually have to have our employees believe it.
Yeah.
Right? Does it make sense? That matters. Their experience, the way they think about things. Would they say these things are true about our particular employee brand strategy, and use them to actually form things like, you know, an employee value proposition, or you know, a sort of mantra for our employer brand. It needs to come from them. It needs to be authentic. It needs to be true.
And I think as we kind of wrap up here, one other thought that I had just as you were saying that, like, the employees really have to believe it, and so does everyone else. Like they have to see that conversation, that showcased piece of employer branding happening in an authentic way, like, because managing expectations is key. Whether you know, whether an element of the benefits is this or this, doesn't matter as much as communicating it accurately and completely. And I think, you know, we're in the reputation management space for employers, helping streamline everything from Glassdoor to Indeed, Comparably, and Insight. And that piece right there supports that authentic story, because that's the employee sharing their experience in a public review where everyone can see. And so it's there shaping opinions, shaping perceptions. And I think you're spot on, Matt, that employees really have to believe it. And so we don't want to oversell. We don't want to undersell. We want to, you know, sell what we really are, know what we really are based on what we're trying to accomplish as a business, and understand what the employees believe, and then be authentic to that.
Yeah.
Anything that you'd say in closing before we wrap it up?
Yeah. Two things, actually. One, the work you guys are doing with the reputation management is actually critical, right? Because how many of us, when we're buying a product or service or going to work for a particular job, we actually ask a friend or a friend of a friend, right? We don't always talk to the people that are selling the thing or offering a job to a particular thing, because it matters what other people are saying, right? So we love certainly the work you guys are doing to help maximize that for particular companies. Reputation management is absolutely critical, especially as there increasingly is more places where people are reviewing your work and your company and those types of things. So it's good to have tools to help streamline that thing. The last thing I want to say about this is I think one of the things I would tell people that are going to do employer branding is believe in what you're doing, right? But be passionate about what you're doing. Tell stories about the amazing work that your people are doing. I think that's the thing too that really sets good employer branding that has a good plan, apart from really dynamic and amazing employer branding that's generated a lot of results, is it is emotional. It is passionate. Like people joining a company for the first time in a particular role, or agreeing to move from one job to another, is an emotional thing, right? It's a big thing for us. And that's one of the things that we've been trying to drive in any of our stories or our messages, is we want the stories to not be lame. We want them to actually be emotional. We want them to actually move people, because this thing we call work and what we do every day is emotional, and it is part of the human experience, and it is opportunity to do lots of different things. And we want our stories and our messages to be passionate, right? To be emotional. So I value a really passionate story more than I do a well-built plan sometimes, because I'm like, people respond to real stories and real people doing real stuff and talking about how they do it. And that's an important part of the strategy. Anyways, so get emotional. If you're doing employer branding, get emotional, get passionate, do some big stuff. And I promise you will see your application count go up substantially.
And the right applicants.
And the right applicants. That's exactly right.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
I love that. Believe in what you do and bring that emotion to the work that you're doing. Such a good way to close our conversation today. Thank you, Matt. And for all who are listening, check out our other episodes, subscribe, like, and stay tuned for what we have coming next.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Culture Profit Podcast. and for being a part of our journey to prove that putting people first is best for business.
Today's episode was sponsored by Mobrium.
Want to get more employee reviews and streamline your employer reputation? Visit mobrium.com.
Now go find one way to prioritize your people and watch your profits grow.